Diamonds are a lot of things. They are forever, they are a girl's best friend, but really diamonds are precious gemstones which from ancient to modern times have typically been used for adornment because of its gemological and shining characteristic of dispersing white light and bursting it into different spectral and sparkling colors. It cannot be denied that people are largely fascinated by these precious stones for their beauty and elegance, as well as the widespread knowledge that they could last forever. But of course, not all diamonds and other gemstones are famous simply for their physical attributes, but for the notorious reputation they gained over several generations for purportedly being cursed. Many of the oldest gemstones that survive today bring with them tales of mystery, intrigue, as well as a series of misfortunes that have been passed down from one owner to the next, with so many people going to great lengths to possess them and with so many deaths believed to have been caused by these precious diamonds. A lot of people today are left wondering if the pricelessness of these gemstones is worth the curse that comes with owning one. Now, one of the most famously known diamonds believed to possess a deadly curse is the Koh-i-Noor. So let's talk about this deadly stone. The Koh-i-Noor, which is Persian for mountain of light, is currently ranked as the 90th largest diamond in the world and is arguably the most infamous one. It is a large, dazzling oval cut and colorless diamond which currently weighs at 105.6 carats or 21.12 grams. Its earliest officially recorded weight was 186 carats or 77.2 grams, though it is believed by some to have weighed as much as 793 carats before its first cutting. As for when it was first found and where it originally came from, no one really knows for certain, but what is widely known is the fact that it is an unspeaking witness to centuries of violent and bloody wars and conquests, having been passed on from one ruler or conqueror to another, sometimes by inheritance, but mostly by force. The story and the lives of those who once held ownership of this gemstone went down in history as rulers whose legacies were plagued with ill fortune and whose kingdoms and empires eventually met their downfall. Even now, ownership of this precious diamond is still being fought about by various nations, which is probably why some people have thought of the Koh-i-Noor as the deadliest cursed diamond on the planet. There are conflicting views regarding the possible origins of the Koh-i-Noor. Some say that the legendary diamond's existence dates back to more than 5,000 years ago and was found in the riverbed of the lower Godavari River, which is part of the second longest river in India. Others say the legendary diamond came from Surya, the sun god, and was given to the world as a special gift. There are also those who claim that the diamond was originally the property of the Hindu god Krishna, while others believe that the Koh-i-Noor is the prized jewel called Shyamataka mentioned in the written text of Indian mythology. Another story suggests that the diamond was worn by Raja Karna as a talisman when he fought in the Mahabharata War. While it may be impossible now to find out where exactly the Koh-i-Noor was found, it is widely believed that the prized gemstone came from the Kolar mine in the Guntur district, which was located in what is known today as the southern Indian state of Andhra Pradesh. Locals say that the diamond was the eye of the Devi, or the goddess, in a Hindu temple during the reign of the Kakatiya dynasty sometime in the 13th century. However, during the early 14th century, the Turkic Khilji dynasty of the Delhi Sultanate marched to southern India. The army of Alauddin Khalji, the dynasty's second ruler, raided the kingdoms of the area for their wealth, and it is believed that among the riches and prized possessions taken by the Khalji's army is the Koh-i-Noor diamond. The stone supposedly remained in the custody of the Khalji dynasty for several years until it was later passed on to subsequent dynasties of the Delhi Sultanate. However, most historians agree that the first reliable recording of the Koh-i-Noor was in the Baburnama, or the Memoirs of Babur, an autobiographical work written by the founder of the Mughal Empire, Babur. The jewel came into the possession of the conqueror, and at the time, he referred to it as the Diamond of Babur. He also mentioned it in his memoirs that it had belonged to an unnamed Raja of Malwa in India. It has also been said that the emperor treasured the diamond so much that he compared its worth to the value of one day's food for all the people in the world who lived at the time. The Mughal Empire ruled over the majority of the Indian subcontinent for around 2 centuries, and it is believed that the Koh-i-Noor was passed from one emperor of the Mughal Empire to the next until the 5th Mughal emperor, Shah Jahan, who had the jewel placed onto his ornamental peacock throne. Unfortunately, Jahan's sons got caught up in a power struggle that led to his imprisonment, and the alien emperor eventually passed away in captivity. When his son Aurangzeb came into power, ownership of the peacock throne and the diamond passed on to him before it eventually came into the possession of Aurangzeb's grandson, Sultan Muhammad. In 1739, Delhi Delhi was invaded by the ruling Shah of Persia, Nadir Shah, who went down in history as the scourge of the Ottoman Empire. And with the invasion of his army came the exhaustive looting and acquisition of the richest and valuable possessions of the Mughal nobility. Along with other jewels and treasures, the peacock throne, which contained the diamond, was transported to Persia. As the story goes, when the Shah finally got his hands on the famous stone, he allegedly exclaimed Koh-i-Noor, which is how the jewel got his name. But the Koh-i-Noor did not last for very long in Nadir Shah's possession, as he was assassinated in 1747. With the fall of his empire, the diamond fell into the hands of his general, Ahmad Shah Abdali, who eventually rose to power as the Emir of Afghanistan. When he and his son died during their respective reigns, Abdali's descendants were caught in a civil war. Amid the chaos, Shah Shuja Durrani, a descendant of Ahmad Shah who briefly assumed the power as king, escaped from the wrath of his feuding brothers and brought the Koh-i-Noor with him to India. Durrani sought asylum in Lahore, which was granted by Maharaja Ranjit Singh, the ruler and founder of the Sikh Empire. However, his safety came at a very high price, as the Sikh emperor required that the Koh-i-Noor be given to him in exchange for his hospitality. And so Durrani surrendered ownership of the diamond, and the Sikh emperor took possession of the stone in 1813. The new owner of the Koh-i-Noor purportedly loved the diamond so much that he wore it on all kinds of public occasions. Perhaps to make sure that the jewel will be taken care of by capable hands, the Sikh emperor willed that the Koh-i-Noor be given to a Hindu temple. However, when he died, and after the assassinations of the next Maharajas, his youngest son Dulip Singh ascended the throne at the tender age of 5 in 1843. And when the British Empire won the Second Anglo-Sikh War in April of 1849, the 10-year-old Dulip was made to sign the last Treaty of Lahore. Having done so, he resigned his claim to the sovereignty of Punjab and officially ceded ownership of the Koh-i-Noor to Queen Victoria, along with his other assets, to the East India Company. When the Koh-i-Noor came into the possession of the British royal family, Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert, commissioned the recutting of the diamond to its current size and appearance, and it was worn by the Queen as a personal brooch. And after Queen Victoria's death, it became a part of the crown jewels of the British royal family, and was mounted onto the crown of Queen Consort Alexandra before it was transferred to Queen Consort Mary's crown in 1911, and was finally placed on the crown of the Queen Mother Elizabeth in 1937. Today, the crown is publicly displayed along with other crown jewels of the royal family at the Tower of London. Now, considering that the ownership of the Koh-i-Noor transferred from one person to another for so many times to the point that it became difficult to pinpoint who had it and when, we can't really help but ask, is the curse of the Koh-i-Noor for real? There is an old saying about the Koh-i-Noor, and it states, "He who owns this diamond will own the world, but will also know all its misfortunes. Only God or woman can wear it with impunity." Now, if that old saying doesn't mean anything to you, let's take a look at the events that transpired around the time the Koh-i-Noor was in the possession of an emperor or a ruler. And it will not be difficult to see the pattern of violence, gore, and the tragedies that is very apparent in the diamond's history. The stories of the people who gained ownership of the jewel and their descendants who ended up inheriting the stone usually ended in torture, murder, mutilation, treachery, and the collapse of their dynasties. While the British royal family may never admit that they believe in the curse of the Koh-i-Noor, its history cannot be dismissed so easily, and it seems that the threat of receiving the curse is frightening enough for the long-reigning monarchy to handle it with caution. After the reign of Queen Victoria, the use of the Koh-i-Noor diamond has so far only been granted to the wives of the male heirs to the British throne. Even Queen Elizabeth II has steered clear of wearing the diamond, even though the Koh-i-Noor's curse supposedly only applied to male rulers. Of course, this does not confirm that the diamond is actually cursed and deadly, but it does leave us wondering if the jewel is indeed the source of the problem of its owners, or its role in the violent history of many fallen empires is actually not any more special than any other spoils of war. I guess it's really hard to tell whether the owners of the Koh-i-Noor and the empires and kingdoms they ruled experienced horrible misfortunes and terrible fates because the diamond was in their possession, or did the people come to believe that the Koh-i-Noor was cursed simply because its previous owners incidentally experienced misfortunes along with the collapse of their empires? Well, we may never know for sure. And as I mentioned before, the ownership of this diamond still remains unresolved today. While it is in the possession of the British royal family, other countries such as India, Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan have called for the UK's relinquishment of the diamond's ownership and return the Koh-i-Noor to the care of their respective nations. And although the jewel's presence in London is largely contested, it looks like the British royal family will not be ceding possession of this diamond anytime soon. And if you ask me, do I believe an object could be cursed or haunted? Abso-freaking-lutely, yeah. I mean, just watch my video video on the craziest cursed objects in the world. I'll put the link for you guys in my description box. But if you don't believe that an object could actually be cursed, I got two words for you: Annabelle and Chucky. But seriously, I do believe when an object is so obsessed over by people, maybe part of their spirits will remain with the object. And just a quick example, throughout history, warriors in China and Japan, they all believe that their weapons contains certain amounts of spiritual essence. And part of the spirits of the owners of these weapons will always remain with the weapons forever. So maybe that's the case with the Kohinoor. So many people were ridiculously obsessed with it, and perhaps that greedy, negative energy remained with the diamond. So guys, here's my question for you, and this is gonna be really difficult. Let's say the Queen of England gave you the Kohinoor diamond, but here's the catch. You can't sell it. It's yours, but you cannot sell it. You gotta keep it on you at all times. Would you accept the diamond? I mean, it's fancy as heck. It's one of the most beautiful diamonds in the world, but it has this crazy, deadly history. Would you still take this diamond? I'll tell you what, guys, and you might disagree, and that's okay. I wouldn't touch that thing. I mean, would you go hug a Chucky doll? I mean, I might believe in curses too much. I might be a little superstitious, but here's the thing. Even if you're not, why would you risk it? But let me know what you would do in the comments below. Would you keep the world's most cursed diamond? Also, we've been producing videos just for the Facebook page, and a lot of you guys have been asking me if I could put the videos onto YouTube. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna put the videos we made for Facebook onto YouTube, but not on this channel because it really doesn't fit. So we started a channel called Ancient Mysteries, and that's where all the Facebook videos will go. And these are just really short, really simple videos about topics that we talk about on this channel. So if you just want a simple overview of the topics and you don't want to hear me talk so much, click one of these videos. Also, I'll have the link for you guys in the description box. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll see you later.